properties. There we go. All right, that's working. I'll make sure TikTok's picking up on it. Audio mixer. Perfect. All right. Everything is good. What's up, Parker? Let me know if you guys can hear me all right. I forgot to plug my mic in. Otherwise, you would have been listening to me through the computer, and that would have been horrible. But yeah, what's going on, everybody? How's everybody's day going? Awesome. Appreciate that, Parker. Yeah, so look, man, let's talk about the markets. Let's talk about what happened today. Today is Monday, after a holiday. What does that mean for the markets? Typically, you got the Wall Street, your big institutions, your pension funds, your hedge funds, they're closed. They take off for the holidays. So it's just retail in the markets, no big players. What do they tend to do? Well, they let the retail float it up. So we kind of expect that BTC was going to make its way up to this high, this daily level right here. We talked about this yesterday. This is the level I was watching for the first little reaction. And you can see we're getting a reaction there, right? Price is, had a little bit of rejection. That's an SFP. If you like to play swing failure patterns, liquidity grabs, that would have been an awesome short. I wasn't in front of the computer, unfortunately, today, so I didn't really catch that trade. But yeah, a little bit more locally on Bitcoin. I mean, look, hey, we flipped structure on the lower time frames, the 15-minute market structure shift right here. I talk about market structure shifts a lot because they're kind of important, right? We broke it, and we're putting in a lower high. So unless we could start breaking back above this high here, I mean, right now I'm seeing just a little bit a downside in the short term. I don't know how much downside. I mean, we're just below VWAP on the night. So we'll see what Asia wants to do. They opened up like about an hour ago or something like that. So the one area I am watching onto the downside for BTC, got two spots I'm watching. So there's a little bit of a local trend, and I'm going to show you real quick. Let me pop up. There it is. So these are the areas I'm watching on BTC. And I'll get into some traditional markets as well. I'm going to talk about some interesting things I'm seeing on gold, some particular stocks I like right now. But we have this little local trend, right? You got the 1, 2, 3 taps on the hourly. So this is my first main area of support. This is like 93.2 to 93.4. If price makes its way down here, I'll be looking for a bounce. If I don't see a bounce here, it's pretty much we just kind of make our way down the list. I mean, it could come back down here and sweep this 92. If we're talking about weekend liquidity, all right, let's say they want to come back for all the liquidity during the weekend when the market was closed. Well, they're coming. Let me go actually show you on the BT. Let me go on the CME chart real quick. I could show you where they might want to go. This gap down here. I talked about this gap yesterday, about 91.6. Now this is off by a few $100s. There's a different spread on here than the regular BTC, but it's generally this area. So I mean, hey, look, if this is going to be a local top for a little bit, maybe they want to pull back, grab some more bids. Maybe Wall Street wants to get their bid. They're not going to buy up here when retail's been buying all weekend and all holidays. So maybe they'll pull the price back. That's kind of what I'm open to it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but hey, if we don't manage to get through this 95K at the moment and decide to pull back first, I'd be watching this 91.5, maybe down to even 90,500, and it would still be somewhat bullish in the short to medium term. It wouldn't necessarily mean, hey, that's it, but we'd have to watch to see what happens when price gets down there. So it's kind of what I'm looking at on BTC. I am in a short at the moment. I did catch a little bit of a short up here. I'll show you guys what I'm looking at, why I took the short. So I saw that we were coming back up into this high. I got a little bit more local. I didn't get a perfect entry, but like my stop's like just above here. And I'm just targeting probably right down to here to like 93.2. It's a 3-to-1 risk. Once it starts to break down a little bit further, if we lose this low, I am going to move my stop to break even. So I'll move my stop to break even or just above break even, and then I'll probably not take a risk on the trade. So right now I'm still waiting to see if that plays out, but that's the only trade I'm really in tonight. A couple other things I want to look at. So we could talk about Ethereum real quick, then we'll get into some traditional stocks and stuff like that. So ETH, Something I saw that's kind of interesting on it. Let me get rid of a lot of these indicators real quick. I do want to keep the volume up because I want to make a point here. ETH is consolidating, right? Let's get rid of this little trend for now. It's consolidating. It's in a little bit of a symmetrical triangle. We have the highs around 3,600. That's like the last daily high before the big breakdown, right? That we haven't been able to get back above. And then we have the lows that we put in back in November, around 2,600. And we're right in the middle. So it's going to break either up or down. Those are the two levels I think on the higher time frames I'd be watching. If we break up, I'd be looking for 3,600 to probably get tapped. If we break down, I think we're just going to keep going down. It'll be, I mean, look, these things play out one of two ways, right? It's going to break down possibly to here, which would make a lot of sense, right? Down to this 2,000 zone, or it's going to break up. And it would take us to this level here at 4,200. Do I think ETH can get to 4,200? Yeah, it could. These rallies, these relief rallies that we get in the markets can oftentimes, they can run pretty hard. The idea is to trick people back into thinking, hey, like bull market's on, this and that. The one thing I do want to point out, and this is why you don't get too crazy in these things, and this could also just be a bear flag too, just kind of like Bitcoin. Another way to look at it would be this. It's not as developed as Bitcoin, but something like that possibly as well could be going. So, but right now I'm looking, we're right up at like trend resistance. So I think a break above this would kind of signal we're probably coming up to this 3,600 area. That's why I have that there. But the volume, man, look at the volume. Volume's fading. It's making new lows. It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. Even if we are pumping, that tells me that people are probably using this pump to sell. Bag holders, people who didn't get out at the top, who are starting to realize, hey, this is probably the time to start selling. Smart money, they're getting out. So that's just my opinion on it. I could be wrong. But I mean, hey, it doesn't look terrible, right? The volume is coming down. So, maybe it does pump up to 3,600, my first target to the top. And then maybe if it does get really bullish in the short term and we do get like a nice rally, 4,200, it could be in the cards somewhere up in that area. That's what the measure move says. But to the downside, look, it's coming out and it's taking out that 2,000 level, I think, if it does break down. Or whenever it does break down from that flag, it's probably going to be even nastier than that. If that is a bear flag and we're going to take the full measured move, that's going to be one more leg down. Let's say we do pump up a little bit, right? It would take us down maybe to sweep these lows. Oh man, that would suck. Let's just play this out, right? I'm not trying to be super bearish, but let's say this was a bear flag and this was going to break down. This would take us back down to the bear market lows around that 1,400, 1,100 area. That would suck for ETH holders. I'm not trying to get too bearish, though. But you just have to be mindful that these things could play out, right? So let's talk about gold real quick. So gold we talked about yesterday. I did get this play out in my Discord, Tactical Edge Traders. We do have a website. We have a Discord. Check us out. Links are in the bio. Free Discord. Free information on the website. But look, we saw the inverse head and shoulders. I saw the trend. I saw us pushing into the all-time high. We had broke it. We came back. When I saw the inverse head and shoulders, I called it out. I threw it in the Discord, and it's playing out. So the measured move is back up to 45.40. I think as long as gold is rallying, I think the markets are a little, they're gonna rally. But you can see volumes fading, right? So this is probably going to be a double top scenario for me. I'm going to be looking for gold to push into this high, and I'm going to be looking for liquidity sweeps. I'm going to be looking for rejections, failed breakouts, anything that would indicate, hey, it's time for gold to roll over. That's my first thought when we get up there. If it continues up, then that's invalidated. Then I change my tune. I'm not going to be looking for longs at this point. I think the longs, it's not really time to long right now. But I'll be looking for shorts up here at 45.50 on gold. So whenever it gets up there, I'm going to be checking. I'm going to be looking for a play. So we'll keep an eye on that one. I'll keep you guys in the loop. I talked about this one yesterday. This is Chipotle. I called it out. I said, hey, look at this flag. I said, this flag, it's a bull flag, and it broke out. I can actually show you right here. I'm going to show you the Discord. Look, I threw it in there. See me, trend still up. There was the flag, measured move. So, I mean, we post these things. I always post my trade ideas. We're not a signals group, guys. I just want to make that very clear. None of this is financial advice, but I do like to share my trade ideas, things I'm looking at in the markets. And yeah, if you can make money on it, that's awesome. But yeah, I think we're on our way up to this $39, $40 area. I think that's still in the cards for us to come take the rest of this gap. So if you got in on that trade, congrats. Starting to put in a higher low in the lower time frames. You know, I wouldn't want to take a long here, but if it did pull back a little bit, maybe say this starts to come down like this, I may look for a bottom to take us up to fill that gap. Could be something. So I'll keep my eye out for something like that. Play out, if that happens, that'd be awesome. I would take that play. Still looking at MicroStrategies. This is another one I'm waiting for. I talked about the divergence yesterday. It's still there, bullish divergence. It's starting to juice up a little bit, like it's getting ready to make a move. I think it's going to take have a little pop. I think this week I'll be looking for an entry. I'm looking for a little bit of a pullback first. And then I might be looking for an entry to take this thing up to 192, 195, that area, like right up here. This is kind of what I'm targeting, this little zone right there. I think we get a pop. I think that's a good area to target. That's where volume kind of kicks back in. See, that's where the volume gap's at. So it's probably going to get protected. But if it did pop, it would run up pretty hard. But I think this will be a nice area to target for, you know, a short-term swing trade. But that's MicroStrategies. I just think this thing's been faded pretty hard. So I think just like everything else, it's probably going to get a rally behind Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's running up a little bit, I think this thing will follow. Usually it does lead the way, but I think people aren't really using this as much anymore as like a hedge. So talked about Vertiv. Vertiv is still kind of in this little channel. It's holding this level. I do see a short in the short term that could be probably playing out. We're at the top of this channel, right? This is the 4-hour guy. So this is probably like a next week or two. Top of the channel, we're getting a rejection. It was a false breakout. When you close back in, most times you do make your way back down. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to go all the way down, but I think a good target would be this low right here at 155. I mean, maybe we're going to come back down here, retest, and if it is going to continue up, like on a higher time frame, it puts in that maybe that daily higher low, something like this, make its way down there. If it's going to continue, then it would maybe get the juice to get out of there. Otherwise, it could start to break down a little bit more. So that's always a possibility with this thing. But I'm seeing a short right now. That's what I'm seeing. It's not like don't jump in and take it at the moment, but I mean, let's just take a look at it on the lower time frames. I mean, look, classic head and shoulders pattern. I talk about this a lot. It's a reversal pattern. You see these at the top of your supports and resistances, depending on if it's inverse or regular, but you'll see them at resistances and trend lines. And it often tells you that, hey, price is reversing. Look, even the volume is signaling it. So I think this is probably coming down. I would say the first area I would watch on the local level would be down here. It's the most obvious. It's the CME gap from the weekend, from like the holidays, right? So when they closed back in December, they had a gap up. They never filled that gap. So there's a chance it's probably coming back down here to test this gap. Maybe it catches a bounce there. There might be some support, but you see the low volume gap we're entering. That's probably going to mean a quick drop down. So I would start looking around 165, 162 for a bounce, but I think 155 could be in the cards as well. So I'm looking for an entry on this. What I'm probably going to end up doing, I want to see this wick taken out because I didn't really catch the Pico entry. So I'd really want to see the 15-minute market structure shift. So I want to see this broken. It would be an hourly shift too. I would see if I can see that taken, right? Let's say we front run a little bit and then we pop back up. I'll look for that lower high to get in. And I would look to try to fill this gap. That's a play I'm kind of just keeping an eye on. Maybe make a trend, some type of trend line. We'll come back up, retest that trend. I can catch a little scalp short, maybe a short-term swing trade down. So that's VRT. Yeah, we're going to look at Apple in a minute. I actually have it on the list. So talked about Apple. I gave this is another play I gave out. I can actually, here, not to brag or anything. I'm just being straight up with you guys. Like we talked about this a while back. Apple, where's the Apple? Let me go to macro. Was it a macro TI? It is a macro. I gave this out a while back. Where is it at? There it is, right there. So I gave this back in, what date was that? I don't know, it was like a few weeks ago. But, I mean, look at it. I mean, it was at the top. It's the head and shoulders. We talked about it last night. And it's playing out, man. It's playing out. It's about to break the neckline. If it breaks this neckline right here, that's a valid pattern, right? It breaks that neckline, it's valid. So that probably means measured move is the next target. That's just the minimum. Like it could go a lot further than that. But the measured move would take us back down to like 247. So that's a decent move down, I'm expecting. I would say we're probably, it's like a 6% target, 7% target. That's just in the short term. I think we're going to see that. I'm more so expecting, and I'm going to get rid of this volume real quick. I'm more so expecting that we're probably going to make our way down here eventually, down to this 212, this 214 area, maybe down to 205, low 200s. I think we're going to make our way down there. It's going to take some time. I don't think that happens in one day. I think this is a several weeks, maybe like a month or two type of play. But I'm sitting short. I'm sitting short on this thing. I think I went short like 50 shares on it. Nothing crazy. It's like 50 shares. I think I'm on, what is it, 20x or 15x? It's like cross margin though. It's a cross leverage. I'm using BTCC if anybody's curious. I'm using crypto to basically trade futures, like traditional stocks and stuff, and I'm doing it on BTCC. It's one of our affiliates. They're pretty good. It's not going to be straight down, so our call's still on for some. I mean, I'll tell you what, dude. If it breaks this neckline, I'd probably just be looking to short. I wouldn't be looking to take any longs. Now, look, you're at support right now. If it holds here, then possibly, right? There's a chance this thing pops back up a little bit. Maybe it even invalidates the head and shoulders, right? But we still have like kind of like a little bit of a downtrend kind of going here. So I wouldn't get too bullish or I wouldn't even be looking for any longs until this trend at least breaks. So maybe track that on the shorter time frames, see how that reacts, and if you can hold this trend, if you can break through this trend, that might be an early sign that hey, maybe this thing is going to take another crack back at the top. So, but for now, I mean, looks like it's starting to slip a little bit. It's looking a little weak. Just being like completely non-objective, even though I am in a trade on it. But the volume, look at the volume, dude. Volume's fading. It's straight down. Volume's already broken its low. Like notice how like it's been trending down and then it's new low after new low. It's not a good sign. If you're bullish, if you're bearish and you're looking short, hell yeah, man, go for it. Solana, I don't want to look at. Solana looks like shit. We talked about Coinbase yesterday. Same scenario, man. So Coinbase it broke out trend. It's in a downwards channel. There's a potential that it's going to it could pop a little bit more. 275, 276 is a level I'm watching, maybe around 280. And if it breaks that, there's a potential it makes its way back up to the top of the channel. And that would put us like in the 300 range, like just under 300. There's a level right here. I don't want to just put too many lines on the chart to confuse you, but like right here, see how it lines up with the top of that channel? That's confluence for me. You're going to have the trend traders or the parallel channel traders, and you're going to have the horizontal, like, just the support resistance guys all watching these levels. And it's a higher time frame level. It's a daily. So they're going to be looking at that. So I think around 324s, if it does get really bullish, that could get up there in the short to medium term, but I'd be watching 280 more so. I think that's probably going to be a better area to target or to de-risk. Sorry, I was just reading a text. Ben is texting me about how bad I am at streaming. Nah, he's giving me some pointers. Anyway, so that's Coinbase. Let's go look at some other stuff real quick. This is Nasdaq. Nasdaq hasn't done anything. I was talking about this little wedge we're in. What coin was that before this? That was Coinbase stock. So it's a crypto stock for the exchange. But yeah, look, it's wedging, man. But I'm going to be honest with you. Volume's telling me that this thing's going to get ready to break down. If I had to bet, if I had to take a bet just today based on what I'm seeing, up or down, I would say more likely down. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be right, but I would say it's more probable based on the market structure is not really giving it away too much, but it's the volume. The volume is the key indicator for me. You see volumes fading, market cipher, which is one of the indicators I use. The money flow is coming out. I mean, maybe we pump up and fake people out and then it rolls over. That could be a possibility, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. And if tech's coming down, that means crypto's probably coming down too. So this might be a short-lived rally that we're seeing. I don't think this is going to be some multi-month type of thing. I think we're moving pretty quick and aggressively. I think price is going to get to where it needs to go, and then I think it's going to be a sharp reversal. That's just my thing on it. Oh, let's talk about Chevron, guys. Someone brought this up yesterday, right? And we looked at it and we talked about it. It was in this bull flag here. And it's inside this larger channel. And I was like, look, if it breaks this flag and goes above this channel, hey, if it can get some closures above this level, might be something happening in the higher time frames, right? And it gapped up, man. Look at this thing. This thing gapped up and it ripped right above. So if you were long going into this, I think somebody said they were long too. You're doing really good, man. Congrats. I mean, it was a nice pop from when we talked about it yesterday. It was about 6%. So good, congrats on that one. Let's see what happens in the next few days if we can get some closures above this level. Really, what you want to see is 168, was what we talked about yesterday. We want to see this level broken. Get some closures. Show something up here. Give us a little bit of consolidation, and then prove to us that this thing's ready to mark up. And then I think the highs are probably in the next in sight. And then if you go up further than that, man, I mean, look at this thing. Just looking at it on a higher time frame, right? Just zoomed out. I mean, this thing looks bullish. It looks like it's getting ready to run. I mean, the volume's not 100% there yet, but it's something to keep an eye on. It's something to track. So that's Chevron. We talked about that one yesterday. I forget who pointed that out. Someone did though. It was a good call. All right, let's talk about this stock Confluent. I've been watching this one for a bit, right? So it's been in this range, pretty simple range. It's just consolidating, right? So it's got something happened a few weeks ago where it gapped up and it put this giant CME gap in. This is when it gaps up over the weekend and it doesn't, they basically open up higher or lower than where it closed. So that leaves this big inefficiency. Well, it's been just consolidating. I'm showing the lower time frames. Just been consolidating right above the gap. So this could be distribution. The volume's saying it looks like it is because the volume's just fading down. So I'm expecting that this thing might crash back down and come fill some of this gap at some point. I don't know if there's a play necessarily here, but it is a 20% gap if you heard of this stock before. So I'm watching for it. It's kind of Bart Simpson, man. If you know what I'm talking about, it's just kind of like when it's chopping sideways like this, it starts to look like almost like a Bart Simpson, like the top of Bart Simpson's head. And with the volume, that's telling me that this thing might actually be ready to run down. So this might be distribution up here. So I'm going to keep an eye on this one. I'm going to post this one in my Discord as well. But I think this is an interesting one to watch. And by the way, guys, if you're listening in and you're not following, give us a follow. We stream 6-7 days a week most weeks, just live content, talking about the charts, talking about the markets. We do some educational stuff too. If you're interested in learning about trading, check out our Discord. It's free. We have a website. Ben put a lot of work into it, putting some videos on there, putting a lot of educational content, free content. So give us a look if you're interested. If this seemed like something up your alley. This is Confluent, CFLT. So I'm watching this one. I think this one could have a nice gap back down to fill this at some point. I just don't feel comfortable taking a short right here as it stands. I need to see some more. So what I want to see is I want to see a break, basically. I want to see like a breakdown of what's happening. Give me some type of some proof, like come down, start to lose levels, start to create lower highs, and then show me that it's getting ready to come fill this gap. It may happen quick, so we don't know, but another way to get in would be look for the sweep. You look for the SFP. So if it comes and breaches this high up here, this wick, I'll see if it ever gets up there and takes that wick, like a little bit, like a pop up and then close back under, I'd be looking for a short there. And that would probably be the false breakout, the trap, the set, so they can run this down. So that's what I'm watching. Those are the two plays I'm watching on that. Also, guys, if you have anything you want to look at, throw it in the chat. Show the ticker in there. I'll take a look at it. We can do some We do some live analysis on stuff. Let's talk about Upstart. This is one we've been watching as well. Just a little bit of a back history on this on the weekly. It was kind of like every time it got back down to this low with market cipher reset and printing a green dot, there was always a rally back up into like the 70 to 90 region. And that's basically what we're seeing here. It did break out of a trend. We had a downtrend into support that's been running just an upwards trend line, right? And it created that inverse head and shoulders. I gave out the play a while back when it was down here. I'm like, watch for the inverse head and shoulders, and it's starting to break, man. It's getting ready to break the neckline. It actually might have already broken the neckline, so this thing may be on its way. Yep, look at that. So this thing's probably going to make its way back up into the 70s. I would not be surprised if we see it in a few weeks in the 70 area. Could it get back up to 85, 90? There's a possibility. But I think 70 would be a nice target for this thing because that's about the measured move as well. If you take the measured move of the inverse head and shoulders, right? Pop it up, takes you right up to this level here around 68, 70 bucks. So that's on its way, man. This thing's looking good. If anybody took this play. Another thing I was watching that I gave out in our Discord as well, we talked about this one a while back, was Disney. I was like, look, Disney's flagging out, man. It's flagging out. It's been in this range. It looks like it wants to break out. The volume's not there, so that's why I'm still apprehensive about it. But it's there on the local time frames, like the daily and stuff like that. But like the higher time frames, it's not really there. But it broke out. It's retested it. It's holding so far on this trend. So I'm thinking, man, Disney might be on its way back up to 124. If it can break that level and break this resistance right here, there's nothing stopping it from going back up to 150. So I don't know what Disney's got in the books right now, but I mean, look, the volume fades. It's going to gap right back up here. Goes from one trading range into the next. So it's kind of what I'm seeing on Disney. This could be a play for 2026 maybe, going into like, the end of the year. This could be something that, this would be a multi-month little pump on Disney. I don't know what they're doing, but it looks good. But again, we get up here and it starts to reject, get out. That's the best thing you can do. But yeah, that's everything I have to look at today, man. These are just things I've been following. Start toss some stuff in the chat, guys. What do you guys want to look at? Otherwise, I'm just gonna go stare at Bitcoin because I'm in a trade. See if I can find a nice little scalp. We're starting to get down to that level, so the short's playing out nicely. On BTC, this is kind of how I like to trade. Well, no, I like to watch the 15. I don't go too much lower. I trade on like the hourly essentially, but I'm usually taking my trades on like the 4-hour and the daily levels. So like big levels like this, you always catch me in a trade around those levels, even if it's just a scalp. But yeah, it's coming down to this little trend. We'll see if this trend holds. If it doesn't hold, then I'm expecting we're probably going to make our way back down to the low 92s, maybe back down to 91.4, 91.5, that area. That could be a nice little target. But for now, it's still in an uptrend. Hasn't shifted market structure on the higher time frames. So there's no reason to get super bearish, but we are at resistance. And we got a little bit of a rejection there, or a little bit of a pullback. And it could just be juicing up just to get ready to move, take a nice move up. So we'll see. We shall see. Let's see. We'll go check out some shit coins. I used to trade alts all the time when like they were hot, and I would just like flip through some of the alts. So some of my favorite alts I used to trade. I used to trade Ondo a lot. This was one I was real big on. Man, I was like, this one and Fartcoin. I used to make a lot of money on Fartcoin. You can make money on these altcoins if you know what to do, but you really need the volume in the market. Otherwise, it's really tricky. We talked about this one yesterday. We're right up against resistance here. All right, look at that resistance. So if it can break this level, I mean, you could see 52, 53 cent Ondo, but it's got to break back above that. It looks like it's struggling a little bit though. You're starting to see like, a little choppy up here. So the people are, probably taking profits. There's an exchange of hands. You go down to a lower time frame, it's starting to look a little toppy for the time being. Volume's fading. Divergence right there. Price is making new highs with volumes making new lows. So there's a little bit of divergence there. So in the short term, I think they might be getting a little bit of a pullback on Ondo, just like we're seeing on BTC. Another one I used to trade a lot was SWE. I was just looking at this one. SWE looks like it had a nice pump. Look at that thing. If you've been waiting for like some of these altcoins to pop, I mean, you're getting it. This is the time. If you've been underwater on a position and you're finding yourself above water again, it's probably not a bad time to get out. We don't know how much further these things are going to go. But, I mean, I could see SWE maybe getting back up to this area here. Right into this zone makes a lot of sense to me. See how we like bounce, 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 rejection, and then we dumped? That's going to be the area to contend. So I think when it gets back up to that 220 area, I'll probably get a little, if you're in SWE, that might be a good area to take profits. Not financial advice or anything like that. But yeah, we broke the trend, man. It came down. This thing had a nice run from like 40 cents last year, like a year and a half ago, all the way up to about $5. So it had a 10x move. This thing was gigantic. That's crazy, but is that your handle at Dasco? Where is that? Or are you just trying to like tag somebody in here? Anyway, that's sweet. I'm gonna see what BTC is doing. Let's go check out the Discord real quick. Let me show you guys the Discord. So, it's our Discord. We got a little general chat here. We post a lot of ridiculous shit in here, so we got our little BTC TA, Ben giving some levels, stock TA, altcoin TA. We got a bunch of members. I don't know half the shit people post in here. Sometimes it's crazy. I don't get too much into it, but here, where's this at? Let me go look for we don't have a brag wall anymore. That's right. We got rid of it. Was it trade recap now, I think? Yeah, this is it, trade recap. So people post their wins and what they were looking at with their trades and stuff. Donkey's been killing it. Well, 38% win on the day. That's just a morning for Donkey. Yeah, I can check that out, man. CS, is that Costco? What's going on with Costco? Oh, Cisco. My bad. Fucking Costco. I don't know why Costco's on my mind. All right, first thing I'm seeing here, this is a weekly level, right? So we're up against weekly resistance at $81. I'm going to go out to the monthly real quick. I want to see something. Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. This thing has been running up. So the one thing I noticed, the volume's been coming down as it's been running up into this high from freaking 2000, dude. So this is a 20 plus year high, like multi-decade high. So you got to imagine there's going to be some profit taking up there, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's not Costco. I got you. So look, we're up here. We're getting a little bit of reaction up there. We haven't really swept the liquidity, so there may be another pass. But what I am seeing right now is kind of like a little bit of a head and shoulders. I talk about this a lot, but it just keeps rearing its head out a lot. This is a very common pattern you see in the charts. So that's a little bit of a reversal pattern, right? We're up against resistance. It's a good place to look for reversals. So you probably have people taking profits and possibly flipping short. So that's the neckline. So that's your support right there you need to hold. So 75, you start losing 75, there is a little bit of a gap down to 74, and then you start to attack these lower levels. All right, if you start losing that, see how the volume fades out here? It doesn't pick up till we start to get back into this little range right here. This range we were trading in, that's where the volume picks back up. So if we start to lose this neckline, I would imagine we're probably going to make our way back down to that level I just have marked out. Look at the measured move. I mean, the measured move takes us right there. So, I mean, the TA kind of is there on it that if we do lose this level around 75, you're probably making your way back down to 69.70 on this thing. Are you short or long? What's up, Cypher? Whoever asked about this, I think, hate. You're short or long on this thing? I'm curious. Let me see. Is there a trend? Not really. It's a little bit of a stretch. Yeah, that's a stretch. I wouldn't even probably put that in there. I say I'd be looking for this level. I'd be looking for this $70 level if we start to lose this 75. That's probably your next target. And then you assess it. If you don't hold here, right? Now, mind you, I'm looking on a weekly chart. This is a higher time frame. This could take weeks, months to play out. Like, this is not something that could happen overnight. Let's say you do make your way down here, right? If you don't bounce and you get accepted back into this range, you have to imagine you're going to come back down to the bottom of the range down there. So that could take you back down to 65. And then it just becomes a game of like, when do you bounce? You know, like if the trend flips, when do you bounce then? So 70 to 65 are probably some good levels on the higher time frames to watch for this one. And on the you know, look to the upside, look 81.30, dude. That 2000 high, that year 2000 high is going to be your level. So you break that, man. It's you know, you're in the price discovery. That's when you know, price moves into uncharted territories. There's no levels. Yeah, so much. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. That's interesting though. But yeah, look, I mean, it looks like it wants downside in the short term. Let me go check my indicators. I mean, money flow starting to curve down. Momentum shifted down 4 hour. It's already in the red on Market Cipher, right? So it's shifting down. So that means money's leaving the asset. I don't know. Let's go check it out. I can tell you what I think about it once I see the chart, but I won't know. I don't know much about the company. All right, so this is a little bit of a weird chart. So it's kind of just been ranging here for a while on the weekly. Let me see what momentum's doing. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad there. That little trigger wave might be something on the weekly. Let's go look at the daily. All right, so you put your first higher low in a while right here with this higher low. So the two levels to watch are going to be this level right here on the daily. You need to get back above $14, and that'll be a daily market structure shift. So we can label that. Daily market structure shift. So that's your level to get above to have a daily shift. You shift that, then you're bullish for the next couple weeks. That's kind of how I view that. Your next level up would be this $18 level. If you can break this level and hold above it, you look for the higher low to get put in. How I would track this on the lower time frames would be this. I would just run a trend line because you're getting higher lows, right? So I would just run like a trend like that and just watch the price action. You don't want to be looking for longs here. This is your resistance. This is your dynamic support is what we call it. Kind of hugging it a little bit to kind of get the most touches, but it's more like that, right? So your dynamic support. You start to lose this trend, then you're probably going to start attacking these lows again at $8. And possibly if you lose that $8 low, the next low is probably down around $6. But as long as you're above that trend, this is the level to break. You break that level, there's no real reason I don't see you going back up to 18. Now look, if this is an ascending triangle, which is a common pattern you see, right? You would play out something like this. Maybe it does that, then it'll go up. If it's going to break out, and then it'll make its way up. The measured move is usually the, you know, that area right there. So you take that. If it broke out, it would take us above that. So maybe I'm being a little bit too like ambitious on it. Let's go with a smaller. Let's go with something a little bit less. So it'd still take you above this high around $18 if it breaks out. It's still early. It's not confirmed that this is even ascending triangle. This is just me being ambitious a little bit, being a little bit forward thinking. But that's kind of how I like. So I'll watch this one. I would watch this one, maybe draw these lines. Watch how it consolidates in here. Probably no trade. If you're looking for shorts, this is probably going to be a good area to take a look for shorts, around $14. If you're looking for longs, I'd probably look for this trend. Take this last breakout, right? This last break that we had. This is a 4-hour market structure shift, by the way, right here. This is a low, high, higher low, a break of that. That's a 4-hour shift. So if it comes back down into this zone before it hits this level here, right? Maybe it comes back down. That would be a play I would look to long. Something like down here, maybe at this level. I'd be looking somewhere in this level right around here. A lot of scribbles, but you get what I'm saying. So this would be a nice area, maybe around $11 to maybe scoop some up if you do get a pullback before it gets up to $14. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there in like the medium to longer time frame. So I'd watch the price action, but it does look juicy, man. It looks juicy. I'm looking at like my indicators. They look pretty. They look primed. I mean, the daily looks good. The weekly, we saw the little trigger wave. You got a little bit of a momentum wave that's a little sharper. It could be a trigger wave, anchor trigger on market cipher. This could pop you up. The 4 hour didn't look too bad when I saw it. That doesn't look bad. Money flow's coming back up. So yeah, keep an eye on this one. It's good stuff. So why do you say that, Sarah? Yeah, I can do SPY as well. You're in at 6. Good for you, man. Good for you. Why do you think it's going to be bearish, or why do people expect it to be bearish is probably what I should be asking. Curious. Do we have data coming out tomorrow? Let's go check, actually. So I like to use this website. It's called Forex Factory. And I use this for all my like big news events. So we had ISM that came out today. Tomorrow we don't really have any major news events. I know we do have some data this week, though. We do have JOLTS, jobs, ADP. That's going to be a big one. So anything job-related, unemployment claims, that's going to probably swing the market a little bit. And then you have non-farm and all that stuff happening on Friday. So big week for the job market. I don't really know about anything else happening this week, though. So if you have any information, fill me in. Would you want to look at SPY, you said? You just want to look at any you don't care, right? I can go look at a futures. I mean, look, we're right up against resistance here. So it looks the same all around. Some of them look a little different, like the ETF versions and the futures. But like it's kind of a lot like looks a lot like Nasdaq does. You're right up against resistance. That's your high. You have an uptrend. You're pushing into it. You're going to make a decision in the next few days of whether you're going to break up or break down on this thing. Break up would probably, boom. And then if you start to break down, lose this trend, start to lose that low, put in a lower high, then you expect things to start to mark down. That'll probably be the start of a bigger drop if that happens. I would imagine if we lost this trend, you're probably at minimum probably coming down here to like 650 again. So it's kind of what I think on that one, just based off what's happening. But we won't know until it makes a decision. So this thing has a few days left to kind of make a decision. Volume doesn't look really, really telling, but I will say one thing that doesn't look great for the bulls. It is trending down. See how the highs are getting lower, but the lows are also getting lower on volume as well. So the lows are getting lower and the highs are getting lower. See right there, like how that's not good. So what you would want to see on volume is the same thing on price. If this is going to break out to the upside, you want to see volume start to break highs, start to break levels, start taking out some of these highs. That would probably make me a little bit more confident that, the move is real. But if I see a breakout and I see volume still trending down, I'm not messing with that. I wouldn't trust it. The silver correction? Who called for a silver correction? I've heard people saying that too. I heard some influencers talking about silver. I was talking about silver yesterday, and I said silver looked bullish. I actually tried to get in a long today, but I got fucking stopped out. I'm pissed off. I was watching this high, and we were consolidating right around here on silver, right around VWAP. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a long. When it dipped below VWAP and regained, I took a long, put my stop loss right here, right under this low. You know what happened? They came back and got it. They came back and got it, and then they ran it up. I was fucking pissed. I'm like, you motherfuckers. They would do some shit like that. But no, silver looks good for now, man. Like if we break this high here at 78, it's probably making its way back up to 84. We were talking about this yesterday. I think this thing is probably, it's poised, man. Gold's making a move. Silver's going to make a move. I mean, we talked about gold today too. I mean, gold looks bullish. Like, I mean, it's broken out already of this like little inverse head and shoulders that it had, and it's making the, right there, boom, boom, boom. It's in an uptrend. It's making its way back up for the high. So why wouldn't silver do the same thing? If gold's on its way back up, silver likely is going to do the same thing. That's just me. If gold starts to roll over, then we can talk. But what I am being defensive about when we get back up here, maybe this might just be a trap to trap some traders. Push up and then roll down. Could see something like that. So I'm gonna put my short cap on when we start to get back up here because it gives us a level to look at. The one thing I don't like is that the volume is fading as we're pushing up. So this could just be an exit pump. So we have to just kind of keep that in mind. Yeah, there was a lot of FUD on silver, wasn't there? Skywater Technology. Let's see what that's going on there. Broke out. New highs. Let's see. I want to go to the weekly real quick. Okay. Well, it doesn't look bad. All right, so this is the level it broke. Right about here. So you see how it was trading? All right, so let's just break it down. It's the first time, by the way, looking at this chart. So I'm trying to play catch up. I know I'm going back into history a little bit. But you can see this level's been respected a few times, right? Yeah, it deviates above it, but look, bang, bangs its head on it multiple times. It even comes back down to test it as support. And then when we finally broke it here, right here after the first break and then the higher low, it came back, tested, consolidated, and now starting to break out. So what that tells me is on the higher time frames, it's on its way back up to these higher levels. The only thing that you could probably keep an eye on is maybe some fib levels. It broke the 618. See how it stopped right at the 618? That's traders taking profits. That's a common level for, lower highs or higher lows, depending on what side you pull your Fibonacci from, your Fibonacci tool. It's a place where like traders will enter and exit. There's like a whole thing on that. I used to trade fibs a lot. But the next level, I would say, look, if it's not the high up here at 35, you're probably going to get a little defensive around 30 bucks if it does continue up. So around 30 bucks, maybe there'll be a little bit of pushback, kind of like we saw here. But really, there's not much between you and $35 right now from where it's at. Sure, it's not going to go up in a straight line. It'll have its variations, but you are also getting up a little bit of area of resistance because you can see right here I'll just pop a line in here. You can see how we've respected this level here around 25. So if you can break this 25, then I think 35 might be in the cards for you. Maybe a little hiccup around 29, but 30 could be in the cards. You got a little bit of a trend going too, so you can monitor this. This is a higher time frame trend, by the way. So it's just in an uptrend. So, as long as it holds this trend, you're good. Locally, I mean, this is crazy price action. What are these moves? They're like probably like 20. Oh my God, they're 68% moves. So yeah, this thing is nuts. I wouldn't be getting in now. If you're in, congrats. Yeah, China's no longer exporting it. Yeah, there's so much FUD on it. It always, notice every time there's FUD on the markets, it always involves China. I just don't understand it. It's like they're just the easiest. There's throw something in there with China that it'll make people scared and they'll exit. They'll panic sell. The one thing I will say about this Skywater, look at the volume, man. Volume's running. And that's the weekly. So, hey, dude. I mean, I'd stay in this thing for now. But you're in resistance. You're at resistance now. So if you were like trading this would be a good profit taking area, or maybe move your stop up into profits. You do have a gap up here that they probably may attack. I just saw this now. So look back here from November of 21, right? See this right here, this gap when they ran down. And basically, I guess this is probably when the bear market for this thing started. Probably the bear market for most things. It left behind inefficiency. So there's a gap right above where we're at. I'm going to run this all the way over. Remember that level I said to watch? All right, we talked about that 786. But that lines up very nicely with this gap. So this $29 to $30 level is the top of that gap that they may want to go fill. there's a possibility you're going to see a little bit of stop there, some selling, some selling pressure. So makes a lot of sense that it makes its way up there, though. There's that gap, but they're going to probably protect it. You never really just gap right through because you got a lot of people who try to breakout trade. They'll try to take longs going into the gap, thinking it's an easy elevator ride up or down through the gap. And oftentimes market makers know that, and traders know that. Smart money knows that, so they'll counter trade and they'll manipulate. They won't make it so easy. Gotcha. That's probably why it's break. Makes sense why it broke out then. Yeah, no, I agree. Almost what I'm talking about, the China exporting silver. Yeah, I agree. Like that was the FUD that they it was like a week or two ago they were talking about it and they were fudding it right when silver got to its all-time high. And oftentimes when you see FUD start to come in at highs, it's usually because somebody wants to get it in. Someone wants to get people to sell so they can get their load back up. When FUD comes in at the lows, that's usually the buy opportunity. It's usually when you get good news coming in and you're running up. That's when you want to start to sell. Spies for a day trade? You mean tomorrow? That's a tough one, dude. Let's go look at the futures. All right, so if I was going to look for a trade tomorrow on this, right? Let's just look at the 4-hour. I would probably be looking for higher time frame levels. So I'd be looking for that high there to get tapped. That would be the first level I'd be looking for. And then I would go down to the hourly and I would probably watch this trend too. It's just me. This is how I like to trade. You don't have to trade this way. So what I would look for is we're in an uptrend. Until this trend breaks, the trend's up. So I wouldn't be looking for shorts. What I would be looking for are sweeps of this high. So I would be waiting for price this week, maybe, at some point to make its way into this high here. If it doesn't close above and starts to lose it, I would look for short there, or I would look for price to start to roll this trend. When it starts to roll that trend, I would look for a short. If you're looking for like an actual day trade, you're going to have to do it the day of. Pop up your VWAP, right? Your session indicator. I usually use the 15-minute. Most day traders use the 15-minute. So you pop up your VWAP. You can see you're overextended from VWAP, right? Most times when you're overextended from VWAP, from my experience, they will usually bring price back into VWAP before loading back up to go up. If price is going to continue up, they'll bring it back into VWAP. So when tomorrow resets, if we're above VWAP tomorrow, look for them to run it back into VWAP. That could be a short. It's called the deviation play. Or yeah, it's like not deviation, I'm sorry, mean reversion. It's a mean reversion basically back into VWAP. So you could look for a play there. You could also look for like maybe it pumps up a little first. This could be a level here. This high or this high here. So you could look for price to run up into one of these highs before the pullback. But I would imagine at some point it's going to pull back. You could run it back into VWAP, or you could wait for it to pull back into VWAP to load up. Some people do trade that way. I'm not really I don't like to take longs on VWAP, but look what it did here. You get away from VWAP, and then when the market opens in the morning, now look, this is 7 o'clock in the morning, right before New York. They ran it back into VWAP, and then they ran it up as New York opened on Monday. And you'll see this over and over, right? Look, 5 in the morning, you're away from VWAP. This is London before New York opens. They run it back into VWAP. So I'm not saying you have to short it all the way down. You don't know if this kind of thing's going to happen, but a lot of times you pull away from VWAP, you come back into it. So you could look for something like that maybe, but you'd have to wait for tomorrow to open, or get up around 4 or 5 in the morning when London's open. Oftentimes they'll start the move. So you might be able to catch something there on a day trade. Not really going to see too much overnight on this because it doesn't really move much. The futures market moves a little bit, but it really won't start to move until the morning, right before New York opens. I hope that helps a little bit on that. What do you guys want to look at? You said ONDS. Didn't we look at that yesterday? I gotta remember this one. On this, yeah, there we go. All right, damn, this thing pumped. Whew. So, look at this, right? Let's get rid of all the drawings here. So what do you see here? Now I talk about this fucking shit way too much. It's like an inverse head and shoulders, man. Let me get rid of the VWAP so you can see it a little cleaner. Right down here, you can see boom, shoulder, head. They came back down, right shoulder. Now notice that they're almost the same height. They're right there on the same level, and then it ran up. So inverse head and shoulders, played out, took the high, so now you're in price discovery. So now this is going to be your first area of support if you get any pullbacks. So this $11.64 will be your first major area of support to look for. The next place I'd probably be looking at on a higher time frame, let me get rid of this little shoulder, head and shoulder thing. I'd be looking for the trend. There is a trend here. I just want to get rid of this crap first. So I'd be looking for the trend on this thing to kind of monitor this uptrend, right? See, there's got a clean trend. 1, 2, 3, 4 taps. So this is how I kind of build my trade ideas. It looks a lot like gold. So if this thing continues to hold above this level, it's going to keep going up. I don't really know how high it'll go. We can probably pull some fib extensions and figure out where it might go. So there's your 618, 1618, around $15. That makes sense. It's almost a whole number. And your 2618 takes you about 22. So those could be like the projections if it's going to continue up. Those are places where people will look to start maybe taking profits in price discovery. But I would look for, support around this 1164. If you start to lose that, then you start to look down here, right? You look at the trend, and then you look at this high right here, because that's the next logical place for traders to want to maybe get in. It's around $10. If let's say we run up a little bit more, right? Come back down and start to make our way back down. Maybe we do one of those and then continue up. Comes back into the trend, comes back into this level around $10. Could be an area to watch for a bounce if we don't hold above the previous high around 1160. So you start to lose 1160, I'd be looking down at $10 for a bounce. Also this trend. If you start to lose this trend, then you're probably looking a little bit further down. I would start looking at these lows here around like $7, maybe down to like $5. But we're not there yet. Until we lose the trend, But yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing on that one right there. Let's see. What else you guys want to look at? Let me go check out my Bitcoin. It's starting to bounce. Looks like Asia's waking up. Yep, bouncing off that, like right off that trend almost. So you're getting a little bit of a double bottom here. Right at this low on BTC around 93.5. Just above my zone where I was going to take profits too. So I might be taking profits early. It's going back up to test VWAP. So if it breaks back above VWAP, I'm out of the trade. I'll cut the trade if it breaks back above. Because this could just be a consolidation. Like, right? I'm cutting through this a little bit just to get the meat of it all. But, nah, it doesn't really make, maybe, right? Maybe. Something like that. And it's just flagging out. Like, don't look great, though. I'll be honest with you. SPDR. Don't want that. Wait, am I looking at the right thing? Oh, I gotcha. No, we were just looking at this. I mean, it's kind of what I'm seeing on this thing. We're right up against resistance. Right? You're up against resistance. You break that resistance, you flip it, then you expect to go higher. 700 is a good target if you break it. If you lose this trend, then you're looking down back at around 650. Volume saying down. If I had to just look at just volume alone, volume says it's more likely to go down because it's fading. It's making new lows and new lower highs and new lower highs and new lower lows. And price is just kind of like consolidating in that wedge. So at some point, this is going to break this week. At some point, it's going to pick a direction. It's getting tight. Imagine if you, let me even try this. I don't know if you guys ever used Bollinger Bands. It shows, here, let me clean this up a little bit so we can actually see what's happening here. Chart style, let's get rid of uppers fine, basis. Let's get rid of background. All right, so let's just look at the bands, right? So when the bands get tight on the Bollinger Bands, that usually tells you that like volume is starting to fade, like volatility is getting low, volume's getting low, it's getting ready to make a move. Every time it gets tight, see how it gets tight here? It eventually makes a move. And the wider they are, the more volatile it is. So it's a way to measure volatility. Volatility is getting tight right now. Like we're getting kind of like stuck in this little channel. At some point, it's going to make a break. So I used to use Bollinger Bands a lot earlier in my trading career. I don't really use it now. I just look at price action. But yeah, this thing's looking. I don't know, man. I guess my bets would be on down, but I think there's going to be some fuckery before it does anything in any direction. Probably going to be some manipulation. Sorry, I gotta check the YouTube chat over here. Also check on my trades. What else you guys want to look at? Cool. Silver's breaking that high. That was my target too. It was 78. I'm so mad. Yeah, that's the sad thing about trading. I'll look at SOC in a second. That's the sad thing about trading, man. You'll understand this if you are a trader or if you've been doing it enough. You can be right on the move, but still lose the trade because like there's manipulation, there's stop hunts. Sometimes you're just part of it, and you're not always gonna get unless you have bad risk management. You don't throw stop losses in there. Sometimes you're gonna get flushed out. So it just happens. It's frustrating, but you deal with it. It's part of the game. It's like injuries, in like a sport. It's like our version of it as traders. You deal with the bumps and bruises along the way. All right, so Sable Offshore Corporation. What is this? My God, look at that. All right, so big thing is we lost this low here. But you're reclaiming it, right? Look at volume. Volume, the entire time, there's a lot of selling pressure. When you're trying to reclaim this level, that's your first step on the weekly. So if it starts to lose this level, you have to imagine it's coming back down. The areas I would target to the downside, if I had to just look at like just the downside for now, you got the CME gap right here. You also have a CME gap right here. Those are easy targets to the downside. If it decides it's going, that's what it wants to do. If it fails to start closing up here. To the upside, you have this pretty much this same thing. CME gap up here. So you could just kind of like look at the gaps and see which direction it wants to head. I mean, maybe it comes and fills one of these gaps down here before moving up to fill that gap up there. Maybe it's going to go up first, then come back down. Who knows? Maybe it never fills any of them. More likely or not, it's going to fill, more than likely it's going to fill one of them. But I would say to the upside, the most immediate resistance is around this high that we have right now. Is around 13 bucks. And then the next real level is right up around here. You could see price starts to get choppy up in this like $13.50 to $14 level, right up in here. So if it can hold this level, that would be the next level I would expect. There's probably volume there too. Let me see. Yeah, you can see it gets a little choppy with the volume up here, but then volume fades into this gap. So if you can break above this $13.50 to $14 level, there's a good chance you're probably going to gap up into this $18 level up here. So if it holds this and continues up, that's resistance. If it can break this, it'll probably shoot up. But it doesn't have to play out like that. It could play out so many different ways. But, and if it starts to lose this level here, takes that gap, it may come down here and take this gap as well. So those are like kind of the scenarios. There's equal like reason for it to go up and down. But the one thing I will say, see how this is 1, 2, 3 highs, but the volume's kind of ticking down. That's a sign there may be divergence forming. I'm gonna go check. Yeah, there it is. I see it right now. So let me get rid of everything. Just talk about the divergences. So when you start to see highs like that, like they're pushing, then drop, then push, then drop, that's selling pressure. And you can tell it's selling pressure because of the divergence. Momentum is starting to shift down as price is still pushing up. It's doing the opposite. The volume is the first key. So people are taking profits here. And it makes sense that they're taking profits here. Because, you're pushing into this resistance, into this previous consolidation. Anybody who got long down here is probably happy to offload up here. They probably make good money, and they're chilling. So, yeah, I would watch for this divergence. Maybe, look, it could still continue to push up and continue to divert higher. You never really know. You don't just short off divergence. You wait for structure shifts first before you take any, real action. But overall, it looks like it's starting to, fade a little bit. So maybe it pushes up a little bit higher and then pulls back, but I think a pullback's probably coming soon. But we'll see. This one looks all right, though. It's been beaten up, but like I said, you're right at major weekly resistance, so it's going to have a lot of sell pressure here. So get through these areas, and you have these gaps to kind of watch and take a look at. Archer Aviation. Yeah, I can check that out. Let me see something real fast. I don't know, man, about BTC right now. I think I just closed my trade out. I didn't want to take a L or go back to break even a round trip. XRP Moon and Solana did nothing. Sad times for me, dude. I hear you. XRP is, I don't even know. I'm gonna take a look at that after this. Okay, Archer Aviation. So this is a 4 hour. Let me go to a weekly first. So weekly, looks like you got a top put in right around here, but it's still doing okay, but you lost the weekly low right there. So you're in an uptrend on the weekly until you lost this low, and now you're starting to flirt with, possible break of structure. But on the flip side, it deviated and it's starting to consolidate. So maybe it's getting ready to flag out and pop back up, right? So maybe it's going to make a nice move back up. I'd be on lower high watch, though, on the higher time frames. Even if you do get a move back up because of this loss of this low right here, I'd watch for a lower high, or at least be concerned of a lower high. Just cautiously optimistic is the best way to put it. But you go down to the lower time frames. Hey, look, it almost looks a little bit like a cup and handle here. All right, there's your little cup, and there's your handle. So usually these things, when they break out, they usually break out the measured move of the cup or something like that, which would make sense, right? Takes us back into this high somewhere around there. It could be a lower high position for a lower high. So, but maybe there's a possibility it gets back above $10 if it can start holding above this level here. Let me look at the indicators. I gotta get market cipher back up real quick. Didn't want to do that. It's somewhat there. It's just not it's not screaming at me go long. But if you were long from one of these lows, you're in a good position. I wouldn't close it. Is the best way I would say. Best thing I could say there. But there's a possibility, man. There's a possibility. I think the big level to break at this point is just going to be this high here. It's going to be this high. You got to break the neckline of the cup. If you can break this, I think you're good. I think this thing runs back up to about 10.50 maybe, the measured move, or almost $11. So that's really the high to break, but so far it's okay. But it hasn't done any 4-hour market structure shifts just yet. Well, no, it kind of did, right? But it broke back down. There's no shifts yet, so I think it's still consolidating for now. I think the big level to break is $9. The level that you don't want to lose is probably going to be about this $8.30 to $8 level. If you start to lose that, I think you're coming back down into the low 7s. So that's kind of what I see for Archer. Let's go look at XRP real quick then. You said XRP mooned. Yeah, it did moon. It did moon. Let's go look. We were talking about it was on support. I was like, look, that's not the time to get short. If you lose this, it's coming down to fill that wick. If it holds this, those are my levels. These are my levels I was watching. I was watching this high here, which you blew right through. And the next level's up at 260. I think we talked about this yesterday. So yeah, it's doing good, man. This thing is freaking running. So, I mean, I guess 250 to 260 would be the target if it continues up. And support right now would be around 230 to 225, 220. So maybe if it does pull back at some point, you get a little pullback. You look for a bounce there if that's going to continue up. Otherwise, maybe it'll do one of those. So that's kind of that. Yeah, XRP looks good. Did you catch that trade? Oh, you're in Solana. If you're in Solana, I do feel bad for you too, man. Solana sucks right now. Solana ain't doing. It's doing a whole bunch of nothing, but I think it's gearing up for a move. And I'll tell you why it's gearing up for a move. I'm just gonna look at. I'm gonna show you what Market Cipher is doing. Look at the money flow of Market Cipher. It's freaking mooning right now. But it hasn't really rolled into the higher time frames just yet. The money flow is coming up. It's about to cross over. I think the big level is really you got to get back above this 138. If you pop this 138 to 140 level, there's a good chance it's running back up to 170. 170 to 180. So it's right at that area. It's got to make a decision. Is it going to get a nice little pop, or is it going to just, roll over? BKKT. Backed holdings. All right, let's go take a look at this thing. All right, well, it got beat to shit from $1,200 back down to this little range we're in right now. So it's bottomed out, man. This thing's bottoming out. This is a floor. When you see prices got beat down this bad and it's been ranging for a while, this is your low. This is your floor now. So this is like your support essentially. Let's run this up a little bit more, like right there. So that's your support around 840. Thing is, your resistance is until you get back up to around $50. So there's like that's on the weekly. This is higher time frame levels. So like your higher time frame level is like up here. This is your weekly resistance. I'm gonna label that weekly. Let's go down to the daily real quick. Not much on the daily either. It was a straight shot up, straight shot down. You see the volume. There's no volume here. So I don't really see a reason it doesn't just run back up eventually. If the momentum's shifting back up, which there's divergence, you can see a little bit there on Market Cipher. And you can also see it here on the daily on my stochastic RSIs. You can see momentum is shifting up, right? But price was shifting down. So that's definitely the floor. Question is, does it have the juice to get all the way back up here? Does it fade? So you'd have to go down to the lower time frames, like the 4-hour, maybe mark out some 4-hour levels to watch. I guess I would be looking for confluence for a 786, 618. So this level is definitely going to matter up here. You can see how we're getting into like a nice consolidation here. This was a range. We were chopping around. It also lines up with our golden pocket. So that level is going to matter to me. I would say when we get back up to that $34 to $40 level, there's probably going to be some resistance, maybe some selling. You can maybe make the argument that the 382, that $25 level, may come into play as well. I don't know if it's going to be such a strong resistance, but if you run this little right here, this high right here that we had in the past, just put a line there. It lines up with our 382, and you can also see price action chops around here a little bit. It gets a little bit of like support, and it also gets a little resistance. So there's a little bit of buying and selling going on at that 25 level. So say if I was watching two levels, I'd be watching 25 to the upside, and then I'd start getting really defensive on the longs when you start to crack into 34 to 40 region. Otherwise, I mean, it's probably going to make its way back up to that weekly high, somewhere around the high 40s. Yeah, I can look at SoFi. What were you saying about it needs to go? XRP printed a buy on the 1 week today. Yeah, makes sense. Printed a buy on what? Are you talking about like an indicator or like just like by your system? So yeah, I mean, that's really the levels I'll be watching, man. I mean, your floor is your 840. There's not much below you. If you start to like roll over, you gotta imagine they're coming back down to take this low. And they could. But to the upside, these are the only levels I really see that can make that matter. There's not much else really there besides these levels. So on TradingView, I didn't know. Oh, I didn't know TradingView gave alerts. That's cool. Anchored VWAP from the highs, right? That's a VWAP you can anchor to the price action based on whatever you want to anchor it. So I'm anchoring it to the high here. It's starting to go into this 382. So see how it's starting to curve into it? This price is coming up. At some point they will meet. And this will be like kind of like the line in the sand. So if it starts to continue down the way it is right now, all right, let's say it just continues down and price continues up. At some point they'll meet. If it ends up being around this $25 level, I'd probably take profits there if you're long, because there'll probably be some resistance. But yeah, that's what I'm seeing on that one. SoFi. We did look at SoFi yesterday. Remember we talked about the ascending triangles? Well, look, there it is right there. And it broke out. And we talked about this trend too. A little pop up. We talked about this a while back. I don't know if it was yesterday, but we marked out the levels. I think the target's $30. I would get a little defensive when you start to get to that $30 level. It's a daily level. It's not a weekly level. Is it a weekly? Yeah, it's a weekly high as well. So it's a weekly daily level. I would say $30.40 is probably going to be the level to watch. I would say if you take the measured move of this little ascending wet triangle, right? It takes you right up there. So that's the measured move of this little ascending triangle. So I think $30.40, around $30 is probably going to be the target for now. There will be the most immediate resistance. Your support is this low. I mean, it's the low around 27.70 to it's $28. You see the volume picks back up. So you look for support around $28 and you look for resistance around $30. So that's kind of where you're at right now. You're closer to resistance than you are to support. So I'd be looking more for shorts than longs if I was day trading this thing. And then look, if you break above this $30 level, and it's the all-time high again. It's back up to $32. But volume tells me that this may just be a lower high. But we'll see. Volume's fading. So that's what makes me a little nervous about this thing. Money flow's coming out. So this could just be a sucker's rally is what they call it. People are selling into it. But I mean, hey man, if you caught this long, congrats. That's a nice little pump. How do I cash out when I want it to stop? Just push sell, man. Or buy, depending if you're short or not. Use trailing. That is true. You can use a trailing stop loss. I mean, if we're talking about like actual, like, you should always have a stop loss if you're trading. You could use limit orders to cash out as price is going up. Or you could have a trailing stop loss like my friend in the chat said. Everyone has a different method. The idea is to have a method, and you want to have it make sure it's systematic. However you take profits, make sure you do it every time the same way, and don't deviate from that plan. That'll save you from round tripping. That'll save you from taking losses you don't need to take. If price is going against you, you'll have a stop loss to protect you. So that's just my advice. Congrats, man. That's good stuff. The long on SoFi. Oh yeah. SMCI moves with NVIDIA super microcomputers. Yeah, we looked at this actually. So it did break down from the wedge, right? The move was basically this. It broke down from the wedge. I'm looking for now a back test. It does look a little overextended. It looks like it maybe want to get a little pop soon. Is there divergence? Well, we got a green dot on the weekly. We're bottomed out on the momentum. Daily's got divergence, right? But it's still going down. That's the thing. It hasn't really flipped yet. But the momentum shifting up as price is shifting down. So it's showing it's starting to find some. So it's the selling pressure is fading a little bit, and maybe there's some buying pressure coming in, but volume's still coming down. So really, what you're looking for here is you need to break this high. and you kind of wicked above it. There's a double bottom here. This is your daily high that we just kind of wicked into, like right around here. So you kind of need to get above this. This is the level you got to get above. It's 31.60. You start getting above 31.60, you have a good shot at making your way back up to 35 bucks. This high right around here. If you're below this, the trend's still down, man. You need to break this to even see, like, even argue that there's a market structure shift on the higher time frames. 4 hour still doesn't have one. So you got to get above this level. Get above this level, and I think you got a shot at a nice little pump. 35 would be the first target, but I could see it getting up a little higher than that. I mean, maybe it runs all the way into this level up here around 42 bucks. See how the volume fades, right? You see how this is a low volume gap. That's why I'm saying if you break this, it's going to freaking gap up pretty fast. So it's kind of like get through this, and then maybe you get one of those. But it doesn't have to play out like that, but I'm just saying, like, that's the idea. But I would still be on a higher time frame. I would still be on a higher, lower high watch. Just like I have it illustrated right there, I'd be looking for the lower high to come in. So any pumps, doesn't matter where it goes, any pumps into this, if it doesn't break that high, it's a lower high. Anywhere. It can go all the way up to here. And then the expectation is it's going to come back down, take that low, and then the downtrend will continue. Just like it's been downtrending, see? This is a downtrend. You could even extend this trend line up here. This is a strategy I like to use sometimes. You have an established trend. Extend this trend line. Oftentimes when you break a trend and you have like a wedge, you'll come back into this level. See how they kind of conjoin right there? It's the retest of the breakdown. It's also a test of the downtrend. It's just a back test of it. It's a deviation, not deviation, a mean reversion play is what they call it. So something like that could make a lot of sense to me. Doesn't have to go all the way into there, but like that's just something I would be looking for. If I saw that happen, I would be probably turbo shorting up here, or at least taking a crack at it. But in the lower time frames, man, there's a shot. There's a shot. Like if you get above this level, you start flipping the script a little bit for maybe a little bit of a push up. But the real level is going to be, in the short terms, 32, and to really get it to pump, you're going to have to break 35. And that's kind of what I'm seeing there. Did I miss the trade on BTC? Not yet. BTC starting to flag. Double bottom. Are we back above VWAP? That's the question. Yep, we are. Yep, we are. Might be making another shot at the top. Let me see. There's divergence. A little bit of divergence. Not a lot, but it's there. What else you guys want to look at? Been going for like an hour 20. I got a couple more minutes. I could throw something else out there if you guys want to take a look at something. Soundhound? Is that a stock? What's the ticker? SO Swan. Is that it? Okay. I guess I looked at this before. Huh. I did look at this. Okay, let's get rid of some of my stuff. All right, let's just look at it raw. So it's coming down into support. We don't have divergence, but the weekly look like it's bottoming out. Let's flip to the daily. Daily's got a little bit of divergence. Not a lot, but it's there. See this low? Kind of momentum is shifting up slightly as price is shifting down into support, which we had established. So let's go take a look at it on just the price action. So let's get rid of that. So yeah, I mean, look, it's getting a little pop. You have the divergence. There's the volume there on the lower time frames. Let's see. Not there on the daily. Let's look at the 4 hour. It's not really ticking up too much. You're coming into resistance here on the 4 hour. So I think it's more about this, like right here. I'm going to show you. Let me see if there's a fixed range volume profile here. There is. So you're breaking back into the range. You're attempting to break back into the local range. If you can establish yourself above this level right here, right, this range low, you're above the POC, you're above the value area low. If you can establish some support the expectation is you're going to make your way back up to the top of the range, the value area high. So I would probably say if you can hold this $11 area, maybe like this 10 high 10s, $11 area, you have a shot at making your way back up to like 1240, 1250, possibly even up to 13, which is the high up here. So, but it all starts with holding this low. You gotta get some consolidation maybe, and then see if it can make its way back up. So that's the first step. If you start to lose this level, well, it's back down to 10 bucks. That's pretty cut and dry, maybe lower, because technically you're in a downtrend. See? If this puts in a lower high, you expect the lower low. That's the expectation. But yeah, that's Soundhound. Pretty cut and dry. I mean, honestly, if you're a range trader, you'd be looking for longs right now. That's just my opinion. Halliburton. I'm gonna have to type that in because I have no idea what the ticker on that is. All right, let's go look at the weekly. All right, so Netflix is gonna be my last one, then I'm probably gonna jump after that, guys. So Halliburton, Netflix, and that'll probably be it for the night. So look, it's been consolidating for a long time in this range. You're just ranging really. Let me go look at something real fast. Momentum looks a little overextended, but the money flow is coming up. So, I mean, just keeping it simple. Let's just look at the weekly high that you need to break. It's going to be up here. This is the big level, 43. You get up there, I expect a lot of resistance. To the downside right now is 19 bucks. That's your most immediate weekly support. This low right here. So this is kind of like your range, right? Just treat this like a range for now until it proves otherwise. Go down to the daily. You're up against daily resistance right now on the short term. See this high right here. So this is daily resistance. So you need to break this resistance to get to the top of the range. That's pretty much how it's going to work. And you can see why it makes sense, right? Because look, you run this line right across. See how price gets stopped up every time it gets here, but it also bounces as well. This is a key level, 32 bucks, just about $32. So if you can get back above 32, every time you got above it before, what happened in this range, right? You pop up, you back test, you run up to 43, 44. You lose it, you back test, you run down, you break it, you back test, you run up. And it just does it over and over and over again. So if you break this, my expectations is probably going to come back up to this $43, $44 area. That's just kind of what I'm seeing. If you get rejected here, then you're looking back down. The most immediate low is probably going to be this, I'd say $19 area. That's in the, I guess, higher time frames. If I go down to my 4-hour, I mean, this was your consolidation range, right? Right here. This is where price action consolidated. Consolidate, broke out, back test it, then it started to run up. If you lost this level right here, let's say we were unable to break back above it, my thinking is they're probably going to take this, they're probably going to come back down and retest this. That's just me. That's just kind of how I think. There's a little bit of a trend here, right? This is me getting more localized. So this is just what I would watch. I'd watch this trend. I'd watch this CME gap underneath of us, right? That gap. So these are the levels I think I would kind of keep in mind. So if you start to come back down to fill this gap, would make a lot of sense to something like this. Maybe we come back down, fill the gap, hit the trend, and if it's going to continue up, it'll bounce. If it starts to slip this trend, let me adjust this a little bit. There's probably a better way to do this. If it starts to slip the trend, well, you look for the back test, and I would imagine it's going to come back down here and test this level here. It would almost take out the entire trend and come back down here and retest this level we just talked about, this consolidation. If it flips this level up here, just like we talked about, this is my expectation, eventually to get back up to that level. Doesn't mean it's going to go in a straight line, Doesn't even have to go all the way up there, but at some, I think like there's a likelihood that it would go back, a higher likelihood it would make its way back up here if it can hold above. So those are the plays I'm really watching. I would play this one level to level. Treat this like a giant range. Treat this like the POC. If I ran a volume profile, I probably would be really close to it. So this is the range high, range low. POC says down here, but I think that's debatable. I like to see what my eyes can see. Usually I trust a little bit more than indicators. That's just me. But yeah, that's Halliburton. Netflix for a day trade. Let's go look at Netflix. All right. Let me get some context on it real quick. So we're in a trend. We lost trend slightly. Let's just do this fresh. Let's go to the weekly. I gotta get some levels real quick, and then I'll get you a daily trade. I just have to know what I'm looking at first. So that's a weekly breakout. So that's a big level around 68, 69 bucks. You have this support here around 91. That's all weekly stuff. So that's probably the target. If I had to guess, it'd be down here. If we're going to continue down, I'd be looking for $83 for the short. Not for the short, for our bounce. If we're looking at, let's see if there's a trend here. I'm going to just run a trend straight up. I mean, it kind of lines up with this trend too, right? So here's what I'm thinking. Higher time frame, I think Netflix will make its way down to these levels. Or has a chance. There's a probability it's going to make its way down to these levels. Doesn't mean it goes in a straight line, but eventually, like, this would make a lot of sense. Something like that, or something like this could make sense for a bounce this year at some point. This could happen over the next few weeks to months. Doesn't have to necessarily play out like anytime soon. So that's the higher time frame. So I think the trend is down, so we can't fade that. So if we're looking for a day trade, let's go down to the 4 hour for that one. So we lost the level here. We lost this consolidation, and we're back testing it. So if we're not able to get back above this, my expectation is, what's the next level on the 4 hour? Well, it's down here. It's 83. So I'd be looking for shorts here if we can't get back above. And you can't break back above this level here, look for a short. You got a little bit of a trend here. It's not a strong trend, but it's there. All right. You could look for pushes back into this maybe. If it rejects, look for the short. Maybe we're flagging out on the lower time frame, right? These things don't just go straight down. Maybe there's a bear flag that's going to form. You have to watch and see what happens first. But like, these are just ideas I like to try to get. So look for a trend to maybe establish itself. If you see a trend and the trend breaks, then you can look for a short. But let's see, where's the VWAP at? I mean, we're below VWAP. So I guess if you're really looking for a good trade, look for the back test of VWAP. And if you can't get back above VWAP, then you look for the short. So, but I guess this is really the area I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for 83. Now, if we can start to establish ourselves back above this level here, I would maybe be looking along. But it has to really prove itself to me. I need to see market structure shifts. I think the short's probably going to be your best bet for like a day trade. Money flow is coming out. Momentum is still down on like the daily. So like, there's no real signs that this thing is going to just start pumping. These descending triangles have a higher probability of breaking down, which it is breaking down, as we can see. And the measured move would take us back down to somewhere in the 80s. So I think a short's probably a higher probability trade at this point. But it's not, doesn't mean short right here. I'd wait for a push back into this trend line, back into this, maybe this $92 to $93 area. If you get a rejection there, then you look for the short there. That's a good day trade. You can pull a fib too to this level. And you can see 93 is where the 618's at. It also lines up with this previous range. So it'd be a good place to look for a short if I was trading this. Like right around here. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing there. What oil company do I long? Dude, I don't even know, man. If you were looking for long-term investments, again, nothing here is financial advice. But if I was looking to put money into energy, I'd be looking for nuclear energy, and I'd be looking into anything that has ties to AI. And what I mean by that is this. They're building these AI data centers, these super centers in the United States. That's part of what Trump's been trying to do, right? What's the big thing with data centers? Well, they require large amounts of energy, more energy than we can produce at this moment. So there are going to be energy companies that do partner with some of these places, and they're going to get the contracts, and they're going to provide energy to these places. If anything like stands out, that's probably the company I would invest in. I don't know what company that is though at the top of my head. I haven't done enough research on it, and to be honest with you, I'm not really long-term investing just yet. I'm waiting for a little bit of a crash first. But there's some energy like look, these are some of the ones I've been watching. I don't really know any good oil companies, so I hate to say it, but like Nano Energy, see this trend? Not this trend, this channel. Well, it's reclaimed it. It deviated below. We got weeklies bottoming out. It looks like if it can hold this, get back in, there might be a nice pump back up. So I'll be looking into energy companies in general, but I'll be looking for things that have ties to AI. That's the best way I can look. Look for things with AI niches and stuff that can that have connections, I guess, really. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. I've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes. Anybody who's just tuning in, my name is Eddie. I'm a trader at Tactical Edge Trading. We do lives like 6 days a week on TikTok. Give us a follow if you're interested in this kind of content. If you are looking to join a trading group or learn more about trading, just get more, savvy in the markets, understand finances, that kind of stuff, risk management, check out our Discord, check out our website, tacticaledgetrading.com. And yeah, links are in the bio. We have a free Discord. We have free content on our website. Lots of educational stuff. Ben put together a really good job with that. So give it a look. But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I will be back on in a couple of days. My days are usually Sundays, Mondays to stream. You'll have Ben streaming pretty much all day tomorrow. I think he's doing, and you'll have Nick streaming during the week as well. But I appreciate you guys. I am jumping off. Y'all have a good one. All right.